Welcome to the Beautiful Game Plan podcast, produced by Focus Shift Films and sponsored by Welsh sports fans. I'm your host, Daniel J. Harris. I'm a filmmaker and entrepreneur working across sport, and I'm a huge fan of sports content. This podcast is my chance to meet amazing people who are doing amazing things in the sports content space and to share their stories with you in the hope that it inspires ideas. So on this episode, we have the amazing Nick Payne, the new MD at Brains Brewery and the head coach at Pill Harriers RFC. Nick, welcome to the Beautiful Game Plan podcast. First of all, talk us through your career so far. You're now MD at Brains. You've worked all across major brands in the drinks industry. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. So, my career. So, I never went to university. I worked locally in the leisure centre. Wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, but I had this ambition that it would involve the fire brigade at some point. Real tough to get into. I remember going to one application and there was 10,000 people applying, and wow. The guy on the door was handing out their application packs, told me there was 9 jobs. So I always knew it was going to be tough. So I just sort of banded from job to job, loved the leisure industry, but I knew there wasn't a huge future for it, for me. In that industry, so I ended up working for Lloyd's TSB, literally on the tills, and after about 6 weeks the manager pulled me aside and said, "Christ, you can talk, you should work in sales." So fast forward 3 years and I'd been in there as a salesman, so I was doing insurance and mortgages and loans and lending, but I just wasn't fulfilled. I'm not a fan of process and rules and regulations, and being in a suit and a shirt and tie and in there 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. Heavily regulated industry like banking, and a rebel like yourself, not a good fit. So and I just thought, God, I don't know if I can do this for the rest of my life, but my wife now, who's my girlfriend at the time, was like, "You've got to get yourself a decent job if we're going to have a future together." And working in a bank seemed the right thing. Sort of 2 years into that career, I was enjoying the sales. I just enjoyed chatting to people, and I liked the helping out. So I always felt it was more of a consultative sell as opposed like a pushy car salesman. Apologies to any car salespeople. And then I just started applying for other roles, and I remember them being really stretched in terms of the different roles. So I wanted to work in the RSPCA. I applied to work like within F1. I applied for sales jobs, technical jobs, just everything. Over a year. I was, this was before the internet. So literally on a Thursday, I'd go by the South Wales Argus, the Western Mail, the jobs would be in the back, and I'd write CVs. And I was sending off for about a year, about 40, 50 CVs every week. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I'm a determined individual. So I'm just trying to find your place in the world. You didn't know what you wanted to do. I like the sound of that. That could be me. Yeah, absolutely. And, I went for loads of interviews, and some I walked away and I didn't get. And others, I was glad I didn't get, or I just decided. And then I went to this interview for Guinness. And it was in the summer of '99. I just got married. I was working in a bank. Everything was pretty good, but like I said, I was looking for this next thing in my life. And I went for an assessment day up in Birmingham with the recruitment consultants, and they told me about this business Diageo, and they talked around Guinness, and they talked around like these big global ambitions they had, and it was interesting. But I'll be honest, at that point, it was just, okay, here's another interview I'll go to. And we went for an assessment day down in Cardiff at the Marriott. And I remember there was like 12, 15 of us sat in reception, and this guy walked in and he burst through the door and he did this cartwheel, and he turned around and he was like, "Right, my name's Martin Griffiths and I'm the regional director, and one of you's going to be lucky enough to work for me at Guinness." And like we all just looked around and went, "Who is this lunatic?" But for me, I was like, I want to work for this guy. Yeah. He is a bit of me. Just high energy, really excited, like blew the doors off in terms of this is not how you do an interview. Yeah. You know, it's like most interviews, you go in, you sit down, you feel a bit uncomfortable, and and that they don't get the best out
Very
of you.
polite and prim and proper,
Yeah,
and he was just like, boom,
Yeah.
this is me, who's a bit of this, and you were like, oh.
And he was amazing. And look, ultimately, he took 5 of us on that day, and you know, we're still friends. So 1999 Rugby World Cup, sponsored by Guinness in Wales, and I started.
Nice.
So you know, went to every game of the Rugby World Cup in Cardiff, took my wife to the opening and closing ceremony and the final, and just fell in love with this business and this brand. And you know, and honestly, I wasn't a fan of Guinness. You know, I went because of the job and the role and that guy, but within about 2 weeks of being sort of force-fed Guinness, I just fell in love with this brand because it was different than what all my mates were drinking. They all drank lagers and bottles, lager and stuff, and I was there with a Guinness, which, okay, the old guy in the corner of the pub drank, but so were Oasis.
It was becoming hipster, wasn't it?
Yeah, the rock stars were drinking it, and you know, we were growing up with the Stereophonics and Oasis, and you'd watch, and Kelly Jones would be in a pub with a Guinness, so I thought, suddenly I'm pretty
That's
cool.
a bit of me.
So, so I was at Diageo for 18 years. I did 13 roles across sort of on-trade, which are pubs and clubs and restaurants and bars, off-trade and marketing and technical. Amazing business, really focused on the individual. Great brands, so you know, you're dealing with Smirnoff, Gordon's, Bell's, Archer's, Bailey's, Johnny Walker, Ciroc, Kettle One, Guinness. Just amazing brands. I got to travel the world, so you know, I went to parties in Ibiza. I took customers to the town of Tequila in Mexico.
Wow.
Went to some of the best sporting events. Took my kids to pretty much see every sporting team play in the UK. Travelled through the best distilleries in Scotland, but all just completely immersed in this amazing business that were focused on its people, but also the brands. And it was just great. You were out, you were driving around. I wasn't in the office, I wasn't confined. They gave you a template to work to, but they really, it's funny, in some businesses they'd say, you know, we give you the freedom to succeed. Diaz used to talk about the freedom to fail, and I loved that because it allowed you to make mistakes. And lots of sports people say, you know, they've developed and they've turned into better people because of the mistakes they've made.
Safe space to fail, I think, is vitally important for any business. It's like, let's try stuff. If it doesn't work, we learn from it, we evolve, we grow. There's no failure. There's success or there's learning.
Yeah, and if you're not trying things and you're not making mistakes, you know, I say this to the rugby boys, like, if we don't make mistakes on the rugby pitch, you're not trying things, you're not playing what's in front of you. So I think, you know, I'm a massive advocate for that. So was in Diageo, and I was approaching 40. Loved my career there, loved the business, but I was always chasing something else. So I was always, and they drove this into you. So if you got a new job, every 18 months you'd go through a reorg in the business. So you'd either be out, you'd be promoted, or you might move.
Okay. No standing still.
No.
Evolution all the time.
Yeah, they constantly developing you, and if you weren't, if your mindset wasn't that sort of infinite mindset of developing yourself and growing, then actually, you know, you're going to stagnate and be a blocker for maybe someone who's coming through.
No place to hide then, is there?
Yeah.
You can't go, I got my cushy little job here and I just keep my head down. It's constantly, right, what are you doing? How are you doing? How do we evolve this? How do we change that? How do we drive forward? So you need dynamic people in that situation, don't
100%.
you? That person that goes, oh, I'm right with middle management and I'm just going to hide over here and quietly do my job. No, spotlight's on you. What are you doing? You're moving forward.
And there was balance, because you got to balance that out. And there were some people who, you know, in middle management were there, but they had to be the best manager possible. So you're not just going to stand still and be a good manager. You are going to be judged on how many people you're going to bring through the business. So they were constantly developing. So anyway, so I won this global award. And my boss said to me, right, you can have any job you want. And I said, give me Wetherspoons. And he was like, why? And I said, because they're our biggest on-trade customer. They're a great business. And they don't like us, and they didn't like Diageo. We were constantly falling out, and he was like, okay, so you know, things progressed. I got the Wetherspoons role. 18 months later, we won Supplier of the Year with them. We grew all our brands with them, and you know, and I was proud of that. And that came down to a couple of things. Instead of going in with sort of an air of arrogance of, right, I'm Nick, I'm from Diageo, I'm going to change you, I went in and was just asking them the questions as...
What do you need from me?
Well, yeah, and what do you need? What, you know, what are you targeted on, and what do Wetherspoons want to be famous for?
How can I add value to you rather than how can I make more money from you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was all about quality. So they were saying, you know, they get a bad press, but actually, you know, all the pubs are Hygiene Star 5 rated. They are camera rated. They are, which is the campaign for Real Ale. They are Castmark rated, all really high. So they've got this, they don't sell cheap booze. You know, they sell booze cheap, but they don't sell cheap booze. And this was in the time when there were house doubles and cheap vodkas and everyone was looking to squeeze the margin out of the brands. So we developed this Guinness quality program just by listening to them. We turned it around in 6 weeks. It still runs now. It went global. So it helped me with my career. And as part of winning that award, I had a mentor. And the mentor basically said to me, I'm leaning up to my 40th birthday and we were chatting around next roles, and he said, you've got to leave. I was like, what? And he said, you need to leave Diageo. He said, you're 40 next year, you'll be the wrong side of 40. He said, you've been here 17 years, your career's doing this, the best thing you can do now is go and take all this learning, everything that you've learned, and your career while it's high.
Your stock's high.
Yeah, and he said, and take it to another business, and he said, your career will rocket. And I remember coming away from that meeting thinking,
17 years in one business, and all of a sudden you're told you've got to leave, and you think, oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and I'd obviously seen people on this sort of revolving door come and go, and I thought, I want to do it on my terms. I always want to do stuff on my terms. And I don't want to get to sort of maybe my mid-40s or 50s and then being told, actually, you're not right for this business, and then I'm hunting for a job. And look, we can talk around ageism and, you know, and companies being ageist, but, you know, I was a realist, and I was like, I don't want to be in my early 50s, and, you know, I've got a mortgage, I've got kids. So I put myself out on the market, and I was looking after a pub group at the time called Marston's, and I was chatting with their MD, and he's like, come work for us. I was like, really? And we had a chat, I went through a process, and it was a good opportunity to run a team. And that's what I wanted to do, was run a team and get more people management, because I'd run small teams, 1 or 2 people, and I was comfortable with the commerciality of what I could do, and I was comfortable with myself. There was a lot of self-awareness within Diageo in terms of how you developed, and there was no development without self-awareness.
Okay.
Who's the Diary of a CEO? Stephen
Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett, and he talks about that.
Okay.
There is no development without self-awareness.
Because you need to know what your weaknesses are, you need to know what your strengths are. If you are kind of blindly going forward and trying not to evaluate yourself, then you don't know if you're doing the right thing, developing the right skills, you're just heading off in any random direction, I suppose.
Yeah, so one of the things that I knew that was on my self-development, and still is, so people still say, why is that still on like your development plan? It's because of my self-awareness. Was, you know, I'm Welsh, I'm 6 foot, I'm highly sort of extrovert, and I get excited. And if I've got an idea, everyone's going to know about it.
Yeah.
And I like to bring people on that journey. But in the early days, if we were in a meeting of maybe 5 or 6 people, it'd be the Nick show. I've got an idea, this is what we should do, and people used to say, you're taking over, and maybe Dan in the corner there has got an amazing idea,
but they feel a little bit introverted. They're overpowered by you and think, oh, he's got an idea, we'll just let him go with it, I don't want to rock the boat. Whereas listening, going, right, who's got an idea?
2 of these, 1 of these, you know, it's the old cliches, but so you know, I was young and I was developing, and people were telling me, and I was thinking, yeah, I can see that. So I didn't push against it. I was like, I can see that. So I embraced that, and I know what I'm like now. So, you know, my wife and kids remind me how loud I am and how extroverted I am all the time. But I'm conscious of it. Yeah. So I'm open with it. So I tell people I work with, if you see me doing it, tell me. Rein me in. I got no problem. There's no ego. Rein me in. So going to work for Marston's was great because it was an opportunity to run a team of about 8-9 people, aged 30 to 65. So I thought, right, a real diverse culture, great business, very people focused again. So I went there, spent just over 2.5 years at Marston's, run a sales team, put lots of ideas in. We were the highest performing sales team after about 6 months. We just put some basic sort of standards in, just about how we work together, how we supported each other, that we removed ego from the room. We constantly developed ourselves. So I remember sitting with this 62-year-old account manager, and his words were, "Nick, I don't do development plans. Just leave me be, I'll do my job, and let me go." So I was like, right, okay. So as I got to know him, he really cared about people and getting the best out of people. So I said, well, look, why don't we sort of have you heading up development within our team?
Yeah.
And so if any new starters come, they'll go with you.
Yeah.
And you can show, oh, I'd love to do that. That's brilliant. So it was there.
Yeah.
But it was on his terms. So
if you'd have forced that upon him, you don't get the buy-in, the barriers go up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and you get to know them a little more, understand a little more about what makes him tick, and then find something that piques his interest, that kind of puffs his chest out and goes, that's me, that's a bit of me.
So he loved that then, that he was doing his day job, but he was mentoring other people within the business and supporting them. So we were getting the best out of him and him out of us, which was great. So I was there, and then I had a call. It's quite funny. It's I go back to that mentor. He was right. You ride this crest of a wave, and doors open. I wasn't looking for another job. I was having conversations with Marston's about my own development, and then someone called me and said, "Would you be interested to go work for Brewdog?" This was 2018. Brewdog were being really controversial. They were disrupting the beer market. They were doing things different. And again, I thought, this could be a bit of me.
A bit of me, yeah.
So I went for the interview, got offered the job, started work there and loved it. And still to this day, I think I work with some of the most creative, forward-thinking people I ever have. Great business. People were just intrigued, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
We did great beers, we had great people there.
It's exciting, man, because you're pushing the boundaries, you're disrupting, you're doing things differently. So you've been in this industry for a while, but this is an opportunity to do something different in that industry and just shake things up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the extrovert in you's like, we're doing exciting things, and everyone's looking and going, what are they doing? What are they doing?
So it was great. It was, and everything we touched was turning to gold. We were winning new business here, there, and everywhere. Everyone wanted to work with us. But I wasn't satisfied with that. It wasn't challenging enough for me, if that makes sense, because not through an arrogance of every time Brewdog said jump, people were saying how high, but the brand was just performing. So the team were performing, we were performing, but there was just something missing in me as a big challenge of what next. And
so it was going well and everything was going well, and you're thinking, this is not easy, but comfortable.
Yeah.
And maybe you're like me, I like to be challenged. I like to think that's a tough ask.
Yeah.
I'm the man for the challenge. I'm going to take that on. There's a certain element of excitement in doing the impossible, or turning something around, or doing something difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been widely sort of publicised. There was some cultural issues there, so that it was just a right time. And again, I'd been at a trade event, and a gentleman who lives not too far away called me, and there's this beer brand called Budweiser Budvar. So Budweiser Budvar is a Czech beer brand. It's owned by the Czech people. There's a load of history. People think Budweiser is the American bottled beer, but actually the original Budweiser is from the town of Budweis, which is in the Czech Republic.
Wow.
And it's Romanic for of Budweis. So Budweiser is of Budweis.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law showed me this beer when I was in my 20s. And I remember trying it. It's a lager. It's a 5% lager. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's amazing. Okay. And it just tasted different to any other beer. And it'd always been my favourite lager. I love beer. I love this industry. So like I said, I've travelled the world. I've drunk, I love beer. I love lager. I love tequila. I'm a massive tequila fan. I love what drink gives you, and I love the experiences it gives you, and I love the environment in where you socialise, because ultimately you go to the pub to see friends and have fun, and I love that. So I love the experiences, and this beer was it was the one that I'd pay a bit extra for. So maybe if I'd had a bonus or I was payday, I'd go and I'd buy some Budweiser Budvar, and then suddenly I had the opportunity to go and work for it. And this was a business that I loved and admired, was very community and people focused, but was tired. It hadn't done much, and everyone I was chatting to was like, love that beer, great story, but what's it doing?
Yeah, needs a little something.
So, and there's the challenge. There was the challenge put at my doorstep, that go and do something with
beer
this beer
I love needs a bit of a driving force to take it to the next level. I'm the man for the job.
Yeah. So handing my notice in at Brewdog, all really amicable there, and off I went to Budvar, and I left in the October, and March 2020 COVID hit. So I'm 4 months into a business. We were in talks with a couple of other breweries at the time about doing a collab. So everyone knew that Budweiser Budvar was this independently owned beer business that was only ever brewed in the Czech Republic using the finest ingredients. So like Brewdog and Thornbridge, all these amazing UK-based brewers were like, we'll do a beer with you.
Yeah.
So suddenly I'm thinking, right, we can re-energize this business, and then COVID hit. So
collaboration goes out the window because you can't be closer than 2 meters to any other person.
No, that's it. And the on-trade closed, so pubs and clubs and restaurants closed. It was a new time for us all. I had a new team that I'd only been working with for about 3 months. So then we had to navigate the next 3 years. So in short, I was there 3 years. When I left, through the support of the team and where we were as a business, we did a full brand refresh. We launched it. We sold more beer than they had in the last 15 years. They'd made more profit than they had in the last 15 years.
Wow.
And we were in more customers than they had been. And that's not just from what I've done, but that was a collective. But I was part of that collective and that challenge. And it was a great time. It was a fantastic time. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. But again, I'm sort of 3 years in, everything's going well. And, the little man on the side of my shoulder saying, what next, what next?
Where are we going?
And I was always looking whenever I've gone to a job, I'm always got two minds. So one, do the job to the best of my ability and bring people on that journey. And then secondly, what's the next role? As in, where can I go within this business? Yeah. So you're always looking sort of in two elements. So when I was at Budvar, it was like, do this job, we're doing it, but there was no progression there for me, just because it was a small business. And then someone called me in January and said, look, someone's interested in starting up a distillery, a celebrity. Would you be interested? I was like, oh yeah, maybe. What's the brand? And he said, I can't tell you the brand. Okay. I was like, what's the drink? And it was gin. I was like, oh wow, gin had seen a massive boom. It's saturated. It was everywhere. You went into a pub 10, 15 years ago, there was Gordon's and Bombay. You go into a pub now, there's probably 40, 50 gins. Everyone had got into it. Yeah. So I thought,
tough market, saturated. Where's the space for growth?
Yeah, that's it. Is it another celebrity brand? So I was like, right, send me the liquid, let me try it, and if it's good, have a look at it. So they sent me this liquid. I was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. Fantastic.
Is that before you knew who the celebrity was?
Yeah, so okay. I didn't see any of the packaging. It was literally sent to me in 2 jam jars. So these 2 gins, and I'm a gin lover, so I drank them both neat, mixed them, had a play with them, and I was like, this is good. But it's not your average gin. This is an ultra premium and luxury gin. And actually, no one was really playing in that space. Yeah. So I thought, right.
There's lots of flavoured gins and stuff like that, rather than what's the best gin, the luxury gin, the gin of all gins sort of thing. Who's sat at the top of the tree, everyone's like, oh, we'll do strawberry and we'll do orange and we'll do, rather than how do we make the best gin?
Exactly that. And, we get lots of data and category data and insights, and what we were seeing was actually, gin was in a bit of a decline, but it was standard gin, and that's happened in beer. People aren't drinking standard beers anymore. They're drinking better, and they're eating better. And it was the same with gin. So we knew people were drinking gin better. The flavoured and the pink market was dropping, and but people were going back to just good contemporary gin, so good traditional gin, but elevating their experience.
Yeah.
So I knew that was an opportunity. So anyway, long story short, we had a couple of conversations, and then I was introduced to Catherine Jenkins, the mezzo-soprano singer, and her husband Andrew Levitas. So I'm thinking, right, Welsh gin, Welsh superstar, good opportunity, great liquid, big challenge.
Great fit though between her personality and a premium gin as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So she's best in class in what she does.
Yeah.
She's travelled the world, been great, in her art.
Yeah.
And what she wanted to do, she's a gin lover. Her mother and father are gin lovers. She's a Neath-born girl. The distillery was close by, and she wanted to give back to the Welsh sort of economy, but also create something to take on her travels and say, this is the best of Wales.
Yeah.
So the vision was there, the liquid was there. Then I seen the bottle designs, which were designed by a guy called Eric Valenci, which are friends. He's a friend of Catherine and Andrew's. He designed a Peloton bike. So we're in good company now.
Nice.
So I looked at it and I thought, we're on here. So again, I'm sat here and I'm saying, right, I can stay where I am and just continue to do my job and be okay, or I can roll the dice. And I looked at this and I sat with my wife and I said, if I go for this, I will probably learn more in the next 1 to 2 years, however long it lasts, than I will if I stay in my current job.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, it's a great opportunity. It's the closest I'll get to start my own business without having to put my house on the market and do it. And my wife was like, I'll back you, go for it. You'll make it, I know you'll make a success of it.
And you've been in these big companies with big brands, with big teams, with a lot of infrastructure, and now you're kind of gone to this SME, this new startup.
Oh, it was me.
It was just you. It was just
me.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've gone from Diageo and Marston and all this to, right, okay, you are the only employee here, everything is on you. Was that a massive culture shock?
Yes and no.
Exciting, but different.
So remember when I was saying, when you go to these other jobs, you're always thinking, right, I want to do the next thing.
Yeah.
It's because I get frustrated sometimes with decision making. I want to make, I'm 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I make articulated decisions based on fact and insight. I'm not just sort of, knee-jerk reaction.
You want to get going with it.
But I get frustrated with red tape and process. And, if there's 10 steps to doing something, I'm going to try and do it in 2, because I'm not a fan of process and regime. So this was that great opportunity. So I was like, right, this is on me. So yes, there's that pressure and stress. I can't share this burden. It's on me. There were people we were working with, but actually the business, I was on Company's House, I'm the MD, it's on me. So fast forward 2 years, we're in 3 markets. We're in some of the UK's best retailers, Waitrose, Harvey Nicks, Harrods. We're in some of the UK's best restaurants and bars.
Wow.
So we're in like Cersei's and the Ivy Group. And it was great. I was working every hour God sends. Didn't have, much break, but I knew that. I knew going into it. So again, I'm on this journey and it's great. And the future's bright. And I'm still involved in that business. I'm still a shareholder and I still chat with the guys and help support them. But I had this call about 6 months ago. The MD for Marston's had left and retired, and he's chairman of SA Brains & Co. The world famous Brains Brewery, Cardiff. When we get off the train when we were kids and you smell the hops and you grow up drinking Skull Attack, and we drunk in the yard and in Brains pubs and the brewery, and we've seen the Welsh team with Brains and then Brawn.
Welsh brands. One of the big iconic Welsh brands.
An amazing beers, amazing brand, but hadn't done much. And obviously they've been through a lot of troubles, the COVID and just the hospitality landscape is so tough. So Richard phones me and he says, look, the business has changed massively over the last 5 years. The current CEO is departing. He's off to do new projects. We want someone to come in and run this business a bit like a starter and take us on for the future. And we've got a few people in mind, and you're one of them. What do you think? You know, and I'm sat there, I'm running this, you know, potential global luxury gin business, and it was a split-second decision. It was just like, yes.
This is a big draw for the career that you've had. The opportunity to go to be MD at Brains, the iconic Welsh brand.
Yeah.
It almost feels like everything you've done has led you to here.
And do you know what? That's exactly how it felt. It felt like everything else was a stepping stone, right?
And then
to something.
This here, and this is it.
Yeah.
This is what it's all been about. And you never knew that at the start.
No.
But when it happened, it all made sense. You're like, this is where I'm meant to be.
So we went through, I went through the recruitment process, and just every conversation, every day, it was just manifesting in my mind what I could do with this business and how I do it, and wanted it, and I got more hungry. And so in October, I had, on a Monday morning, I had the call, you're in. So, you know, I had to plan my exit with Signet and make sure that we did the right thing with them. And, you know, Catherine and Andrew were fantastically supportive of that, and they could see, you know, what Brains offered. I start with Brains on January the 6th, and it's everything I wanted it to be. It's amazing. And for the first time ever, I'm not thinking, what next? I'm just thinking, I'm going to make this brewery iconic. Or not iconic, that's terrible, because it is iconic, but I want to make this brand and this business as famous as it was 20 years ago, and resonate with the current consumer, so the people who drink it now, but also, you know, the audience of the future, audience of 25 and beyond. I want them to have as much love for Brains as I did when I was that age. Yeah. So, and that's the challenge, and it's a big one. Yes,
you've got a lot of legacy there, you've got a lot of history there, you've got a perception of the brand, but you've also got an opportunity to take that to the next level and build on the groundwork that's been laid, and bring it up to the modern day and introduce it to some new people and new customers and new clients, potentially new products, I'd imagine, and kind of, go, right, I've taken that iconic brand and I've kind of led the charge for it to go to the next level again.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing. So it's, you know, you go in and you start to chat to people, and like, you know, Brains is a force for good in Wales and in Cardiff, and always has been. And when you go in and you walk around and you chat to the people there, you can see why. There's so much love and passion for this business, and it's been through tough times. Yeah. You know, 5 years ago, it was on the point of closure. They sold all the pubs, all the coffee shops, you know, and you know, they moved premises, and now we're in Cardiff Bay. We've got a state-of-the-art brewery, been there 5 years, and there's people who've been there 40 years.
Nice.
Right? And they're not looking back. They talk about the good old times.
A bit of nostalgia, but
they're constantly looking for, this is what we should do, this is how we could do it. So that love to make Brains great again type thing. Sorry, nice. I shouldn't say that with current climate with Trump. But
making beer great again is not the new slogan for Brains Brewery. We'll just say that now.
But there's just so much love for Brains and what it can do and where it sits. And then you start chatting to customers, and they're the same. They're like, we love Brains, you know, and then you realise how big it is, and you know, it's a high selling, you know, it's a major selling beer. Yeah. And then we've got extensions of Brains such as Rev James, which is a phenomenally, you know, amazing cask ale that's also in bottles. And people, we didn't know Brains brewed that. So we've got people in Newcastle, London, Manchester drinking our beer and loving it. So we've got great people, we've got this great beer, but a bit like when I started at Budvar, we've got some work to do. Yeah. And that's around, like I said, appealing to our current consumer, so we don't want to offend them. It's around recruiting new people in. It's around reinforcing Brains as being a power of strength and goodness in the community. And there, you know, you walk around, I was with the production team Tuesday and yesterday, and you know, they're involved in the community. If it's sport, if it's charity, if it's helping, allotments, they're just involved in the community. So, I want Brains to be a force of good, not just, yes, we do great beer, yes, we support our customers, but we also support the community. And for us, it's around winning back sort of Wales and those consumers, and then
growing from there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sponsored by Welsh sports fans and their award-winning Riverside Sports Bar, an American-style sports bar with a distinctly Welsh feel. Great food, great atmosphere, and all the sport, as well as a range of Welsh products at Wales' #1 sports bar.
So what a career, and now...
Not over yet.
I'm not talking about that was a great career. This is a great career, and it's now in a place to go to the next level. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about your life in sport.
Yeah.
So you've played sport from a young age. You're now the head coach down at Pill Harriers. That's a great part of the community down there. What part has sport played in your life and your career? What have you learned from sport that you've taken into your career, or maybe even vice versa? What have you learned from your career taken into sport?
Good question. And I think I probably learned more in the last 14 years since I've been coaching and as I've got older, but then you reflect back on subconsciously what sport was giving you when you were young, if that makes sense. So, I've done individual sports and I've done team sports, but I always like I like the social side. And when I say the social side, is being part of something.
Yeah.
And seeing people develop and get better. And I think, you start to see that in your career, so as much as you want to perform in team sports, it's all very well being the best player on the team, right? But in rugby, let's take rugby for example, right? If you're the best player on the team, great, but you can't win that game alone.
Yeah.
You need the other 14 players to come with you on that journey and want it as much as you. And then if you've got 15 bloody good players working together, that's a strong team.
Yeah.
That is the same in business, right? So in work, it's all right to have one individual who's great at sales or a great brewer, but if all the other supporting areas around it, finance and the sales and the marketing aren't working together, and there's this, so you go to some businesses and they go, sales and marketing don't get on, or no one really speaks to finance. I'm very much, no, I want us all to work together. So understand what you do in your job in finance, and finance understand what I do in sales. Same in rugby. Backs understand what the forwards do, forwards understand what the backs do.
And one can't operate effectively without the other.
No.
And you find ways to work together to get the best out of each other. You're good at this, you do that. We'll support you on that. We're good at this, we'll do that. You support us on that. And you find a way for the entire team to work together, and then that cohesion and that shared vision and those shared drivers bring success.
Yeah, absolutely. And you understand, that you can't be perfect at everything. Yeah. So you understand your strengths and where your weaknesses are, but also the strengths and weaknesses of other players. So, if you're a prop, right, your strength is going to be power, and grit in a scrum, right? Horrible place. I've never played and would never want to play, right? So the wingers who are lightning quick, and nimble and agile, they need the prop to do their job, right? So that ball, we win that ball at the scrum, and the ball comes through and the winner uses his pace to get to score, That prop is not going to run the length of the pitch, in 12 seconds. A winger is. So a prop needs to know, right, I've got to get that ball to the winger, because if we don't, we're not going to score. So that's where, and that's where you get that cohesion. The other thing is you bring just people in from all walks of life. So what I love about sport is with business, the businesses I've worked in, people have tended to come in from all different backgrounds, but ultimately they want to work for brands, or they want to work in hospitality or the drink sector. So there's that commonality. They've obviously got lives outside of that, and the one thing with this industry and hospitality is you meet amazing people with amazing stories. But with rugby or sport, you've just got this really broad demographic. So you can play rugby with a solicitor, you can play rugby with an ex-convict,
Yeah.
You know, you can, and it's as broad as that. But when they come together, it's all left.
Yeah.
So you walk through the changing rooms, your bag goes down, okay, no matter how stressed you are from work, what's going on, if you've had a row with your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, whatever it is, right, when you walk through those changing room doors and your bag goes down, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Right? For a couple of reasons. One, it's a release.
Yeah.
Okay? Secondly, there's probably someone sat in that changing room that's probably going through something worse than you.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you know, you don't bring it. But it's also a safe space to talk. So you might go, oh, I've had a bad day at work, and you know, and people say blokes aren't great at chatting, and in short, they're not. But in that environment, they are.
Yeah.
You know, and they go, oh, what's up, mate? What's going on? And there might be a bit of laughter and a bit of banter with it, but people know.
It's that safe space, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? These are people that I'll bleed for. Do you know what I mean? On the field, they'll bleed for me.
Yeah.
So I feel I can tell them something I might not be able to tell somebody else. So because I know they got my back in a tackle or a scrum or whatever, I feel they would have my back if I tell them about this situation I've got in my personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you subconsciously build a group of values and standards around how you operate, and you know that you'll turn up on time, and that, you know, you give your all in training, and you know you respect if someone's injured in training, and you know, and you want them to rehab right and get back because you need them 100%, and that all leads to a Saturday when you play. So sport's given me that. I think, you know, as I've got older, I've got more into the training. You know, I go to a local gym, Exert, in Abercan. You know, I started going there because I got into jiu-jitsu, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And there was this little club, Newport MMA, that started up in Rogerstone with Wayne Arangelovic and Tim Newman. And I was going there, I was injured through rugby. And I was going there because I put a load of weight on, and I needed some contact and some training. And suddenly I'm involved in this sport that is like a game of chess. It's infinite, it's ridiculous. And, you know, I'm 17 stone at the time, and I've got lads who are 11 stone putting me to sleep. And I'm just like, how? And, you know, and
There's the next challenge.
Yeah, and that was it. So we got into jiu-jitsu, and then I met Russ Smith, who owns Exert Gym, and I realised that actually I wasn't being the best version of myself because I wasn't fit enough. And I'd always liked training. I always liked, you know, training in the gym and running, but I never really had a focus around it. And then suddenly I'm sort of 31. I'm like, I need to be the best version of myself. I want to be the best version of myself. What I've been doing and professing in my career, I'm not doing it for me and like how I am. And suddenly I've got a young family, and, you know, and I wasn't at the state where I couldn't run around and play with the kids, but I'd broken my ankle, I'd put weight on, and I was just like, I've got to get out of this. So I got into the jiu-jitsu, then I started training with Russ, and I realised how unfit. I thought I was strong, and I thought I was fit, and I wasn't. And then I realised how good I could be. And then by the time I went back to rugby, suddenly I was fitter than when I was 20.
Yeah.
And then I was running around this rugby pitch going, oh my God, you know, this is the difference between a good player and a great player, is I can just do more efficiently, and I can do this for long periods of time. So I'm not expending my energy for 10 minutes and then, I need 20 minutes on the side. I can do this for 40 minutes, and I can do it for another 40.
Yeah.
So like this whole sort of health and fitness thing started to creep up on me, and then suddenly I'm all or nothing.
Yeah.
Suddenly I'm immersed in this, and I'm like, right, I want to be the fittest I can be. Now I'm not worried about the aesthetic side of, you know, I want abs and I want to, you know, top off training and stuff, because I like my food, I like my drink, and life for me is about balance.
Yeah.
But what I was seeing was actually, if I could be the best version of myself, and I was training, and I was like my food and drink in moderation, I was having more value for Pill Harriers, and playing rugby for them. So, you know, and then I was doing the jiu-jitsu on the side and stuff. So it just manifested from there. So, you know, I played till I was 38. You know, I was competitive. I classed myself as one of the fittest in the club. I still do, and I'm 50 this year.
I've heard you shout to those players, if a 51-year-old man can do it, you can do
50,
it.
50
50
this year.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I do, and I train harder now than I ever have, but I love it. And it's not an obsession, it's a release. So I go to the gym because it's a stress reliever.
Yeah.
I go because it's a community gym and there's good people there and I can have a laugh and I can have a joke. I'm an ear to some people. You know, I've had people sat there and, oh, I've had a bad day today, and okay, and you start chatting to them and you help them. And I've been there when, you know, I've had some low times and, you know, I want to drive. And I think that, you know, that all sort of really came to a head, how sport and community and the impact came to a head in 2020. So I'm coaching Whiteheads. So I finished playing rugby at 38 and I go into coaching. You know, one of those things, you're on the sideline, my 2 kids are playing rugby and the coaches say, oh, you've played, get involved. The next thing you know, you're in a WhatsApp group and you're coaching. So I do my level 1, you know, and then suddenly I'm thinking, there's a level 2 and a 3 above that.
And the competitor inside you goes, I got another level to go to, I got another level to go to.
But I'm like, they're under 9s. They're all right. So I start coaching them and then suddenly we're attracting boys from other sides and they want to play for Whiteheads. And it's a great club, great facilities. And ultimately I had 26 boys that I took right through. Some are Welsh internationals now, some are playing in clubs like Cross Keys and Pontypool. Majority is still playing, which is, I always said to them, my job, boys, is to get you to youth rugby. If I get you to under 16s and then to youth rugby, my job is done, right? Because you will love youth rugby. You can have a beer, you can go on tour, you're growing, you will have the best time, but that's my job. Yeah. And that's how I thought, is I'll just get them through. But I did my level 2 when they were under 15s. We're representing, we got boys in the Dragons Academy. So we have this team of 26. I've got 15 boys in Dragons Academy. We're going to cup finals every year. We won once, we lose some. But we've just got this community. And then in 2020, a tragedy happens. So 6 months previous, one of the boys gets diagnosed with leukemia. And the group say to me, we want to help him out. We've got stuff to do here. We can't let Sam go through this alone. So these are 15, 16-year-old boys, right? And they're like, we'll do a gym challenge. We'll cycle from North Wales to South Wales. And this isn't me driving them. Yeah. This is what sport gives, right? They see a team member in need and needs help, okay, and they want to help him. So that's what we do. We go on these challenges and we go up Exert Gym and we do triathlons. So we put some posters up, we're doing the triathlons, and the members of Exert Gym, they don't know Sam, but they're like, we'll do it, we'll raise money. So suddenly this community come together with one common denominator, is to help someone, right, and to do good in the world. So this is what we do. So we build up, and for 6-7 months we raise money, all while Sam is undergoing like this just evasive treatment and is being an absolute warrior. And all he's saying is, any money you raise, I'll keep and I'll give it back to the club. I'll give it to the boys. You know, it's the type of guy he is. He's like, we'll have pizzas when I'm back. And it's fantastic. So, you know, and this is all what COVID's going on as well. So we're in lockdowns, we're in and out of lockdowns, and this community come together, and sport gives you this. All right? Sport gives you this. And then, unfortunately, February 15th in 2020, I get a call no one wants. And one of the boys has passed away, not Sam. Oh. He'd taken his own life. Oh, never. And it rocks me to this day, because this lad was just superhuman. He was amazing. Amazing lad. Loved by all, great family, fantastic rugby player, good in school. Just one of life's genuinely nice lads. Yeah. And it rocks this community. And obviously, you know, we're trying to pull together, and we're in lockdown. Yeah. So we work with the family, we work with the team, we work with these boys, we work with the police, and they allow us to all come together, and we all get together down Whiteheads, and we have boys from basic school come over, because that's where they're in school, and we just had a game of rugby. We just played touch rugby, and there's boys crying, there's adults crying, but we came together as community, and we were just like, you know, we've got to stay strong for each other. We're not going to lose anyone else. So you see the force of community, and I needed it.
Yeah.
I've never, you know, you see me welling up here. I've never been touched by anything like I was touched by this. And then 2 weeks later, I get a phone call, and Sam's treatment stopped working. Oof. And 6 days later, he passes. Oh. So you got these two lads, two wonderful lads, wonderful families. And you've got this group in lockdown, just like, you can't imagine it. So sport brought us together. Whiteheads and the community brought us together, and rugby brought us together, and we sit down and we're like, you know, we want to celebrate their lives. We want this to be a force for good. And we start chatting with the families, and we decide that, you know, the boys want to do another challenge. They want to do something to celebrate their lives. And we come up with a mad idea of, let's play rugby for 24 hours. Okay, let's do it. So we go to the council, we work with community, we work with the police. It gets pushed back several times, and then we go live. We do it in July. I had people within the communities messaging me, we'll design the posters, we'll do the artwork, we'll do the social media. We had thousands there. So basically what we did is we had a 24-hour rugby game. Whiteheads boys would be on the pitch at all times. They'd rotate. Yeah. So we'd have 10 on the pitch all time, and everyone else could buy places to come and play. We were inundated. We had to turn people away. So the rugby community, the local community, sport, we had the police there, we had the WRU there, the rugby clubs, everyone was touched. And it was sort of like 2 weeks after everyone was allowed out, we descended on Whiteheads, and we had this massive event, and, you know, we raised tens of thousands of pounds over the year for Teenage Cancer Trust, for Tuish, for Sam and his family, for Rossi and his family. And it was a force of good, and it just, for something that happened that was so dark in such dark times, you know, the sun shone, and for 24 hours people just celebrated their life, and it was fantastic. And for me, that was what sport does. Yes. Right? And it brings people together, and it shows that there's people there in community and help. And, you know, we're seeing more and more now about mental health and mental well-being. And Adam Crato and Junior Borg are doing events down Pill Harriers. And it's, you know, and it's all sport related because, you know, men use sport for good. And, you know, and I just think it's really important. So for me, it's how sport and business have sort of gone hand in hand. Is like community, being the best version of yourself, you know, doing good, and just sort of bringing people along on that journey with you. That it's not a solo journey, and if you bring people with you, you can achieve great things. Exactly, and that's the power of sport to bring people together. Like I've worked at the BBC and kind of heard they're trying to reach different audiences with different things. Like there's nothing in Wales that can bring together an 18-year-old from Cardiff and a 65-year-old from Llangefni, like Welsh football or Welsh rugby. Sit in that stadium side by side with a common goal, singing their hearts out, singing the national anthem, wearing the same shirt, drinking the same beer, and their lives are complete polar opposites. Do you mean different generations, different parts of the country, different races, backgrounds, whatever it is, sport brings them together. Oh, it does, and you know, it doesn't matter if you play. You know, they say rugby's a thugs game played by, or gentleman's game played by thugs. You know, and you do. You know, it's a physical big. But as soon as it's finished, you're shaking hands. You're in. You know, you're having food. You're having a drink, and you're chatting with the opposition. You know, I've been at internationals with my kids, and you know, we've sang the Welsh national anthem, and then there's a load of like Scots behind you, like big Goliath men in kilts, picking my kids up with them on their shoulders, and it's just amazing. It's just like, it gives you this euphoria. It's fantastic. You know, I've jumped out of planes twice. I've done skydives. Adrenaline rush is amazing, but right, that's a solo adrenaline rush. We had a tough game Saturday, Pill Harriers, against a local side Usk. The euphoria I had through that game, and when that final whistle went, seeing how much it meant to the boys on the side and to the players themselves, because they'd given everything, was 100 times better.
Oh, wow.
If you could bottle it, it'd be
Yes.
amazing. And, you know, and that's why I'm still in rugby. So my journey was get you to youth.
Yeah.
Okay. I did my level 3. I went and coached them in youth.
Yeah.
Okay. I then took them to seniors, and then I've gone back to my club, which was Pill Harriers, because the opportunity to go back and give to like just an amazing community club was the right time for me. And it's great to be a part of that. And you know, there's a long-term plan we have there to make this club as successful as it can be. But yeah, I just get so much from it. And people say, "Oh, when are you going to stop?" I don't want to stop because I get from it. I tell you when I'll stop is probably when the boys tell me to stop.
Yeah.
If I'm not adding value, and boys don't want to be there, I like my ego. There's no ego. I'll just be like, okay, I'll walk away.
Yeah.
Or I'll do something else to help.
It's amazing. The power of sport and bringing people together, giving people support networks and all that sort of stuff, like the Euphoria. Maybe that's the new Brains beer that's going to be coming out. Nick's Euphoria, that's going to be bottled. But again, we talked about kind of serendipity and your career and the places you went, the things you learned, and now you're at Brains. Brains have been synonymous with sport in Wales throughout their kind of lifetime. Your life in sport as kind of, that's all part of the journey and leading you to Brains. I think they're a key part of sport in Wales. Sport's been a key part of your career, and now you're there at Brains, where I'm presuming you're going to be looking to build on that history of sport and the Brains brand.
Yeah, exactly that. And you touched on it. Sport brings so many people together, and I think, you know, Brains. So 20 years ago, with the famous Brains shirts, and when they went out to France because of alcohol licensing, they had to have brawn, and everyone remembers that. That's 20 years ago. You know, and they were part of Glamorgan Cricket, Football Association of Wales, Cardiff City. So, you know, it was very synonymous with those big ticket sport items. And I'd love us to be back in those stadiums. You know, more so that you can just go in and watch sport and enjoy one of our beers or our non-alc beers while there. And talking of non-alc, you know, the world's a different place now. You know, so, you know, it's... there's a more diverse audience out there, and I talked earlier about our beers appealing to the audience of 25 and beyond. So with non-alc, we can talk to everyone at different times of the day. With our different beers, we can. You know, there are more women playing sports. So you see, you know, the growth in women's football, women's cricket. So I was at an event on Monday at Lord's, which is Wales Week. So it's when sort of all businesses and communities descend on London and they talk around the great that's going on. And the team were there from Glamorgan Cricket talking about how numbers are just thriving with young girls going and the Welsh Fire, which is the Welsh cricket team, you know, playing out of Glamorgan, Sophia Gardens, iconic ground. You see the good that I love watching the Welsh women's rugby team. I like watching women's football. I think it's more technical. And it's the same with rugby. And it's so. And I've got a daughter, you know, and I'm and a wife. And you know, I want my daughter to have the same opportunities. And you know, I'd be super proud. Well, I'm super proud of my kids anyway. But I'd love it if, you know, see your daughter representing Wales at football. And maybe 20 years ago they couldn't. Which is madness. So the world's a different place. Sport allows you to bring all these diverse cultures together with the same common goal of what's happening on the pitch, you know, and men can, you know, support women's and women's men and commentate. And it's the same for us with Brains. So, you know, I'm really excited now not to pigeonhole Brains to just, right, we just want to be synonymous with the Welsh men's team. It's like, can we get involved in the community game? Can we get involved in women's teams? Can we get involved in cricket again and football and maybe jiu-jitsu? You know, it's I think there's such an appeal out there, and we have an amazing range of products and beers. And I go back to, when do people usually share those times with friends, in good experiences, watching live music, watching sport, in the pub, you know, entertaining friends at home? Is, you know, I want Brains to be part of that environment as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about what the future holds. Sport will definitely play a part because it gives us that platform to talk to a wide audience. And yeah, it'd be great to maybe see us on a famous shirt in the future.
I've got an idea for you. every cup final, do you know what I mean? You win a trophy, you spray a bottle of champagne, you spray a big bottle of Brains.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you become synonymous with,
it'd
with
be
sport
great.
and success.
Great. I'd rather them drink it because it's bloody good beer, but I don't mind them spraying it.
But that's it, you talk about the power of sport to engage people, and there's so many brands now that have partnered with sports stars because their brand can reach so much further through access to a sports club or a sports person, and Brains have got that platform in Wales, but can go to that next level again with a bit of innovative thinking from yourself and from your team over there. I'm very excited to see what you do at Brains and what the future of it looks like, because all the things you've talked about today, I think mean the future is bright for Brains. So I'm very excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, that's, and I appreciate that. But for me, it's we've got to be true to our roots. So I talked earlier about the people in Brains and the community work they do. And if we ended up being on the Welsh shirts again, great. But I want to make sure that flows through to the community game.
Yeah.
So, that's huge for me. If we can be in the Pill Harriers and the Mystags and the Abercarns and the Whiteheads, if we're on the bar there and those teams finish and they want to share a Brains after that, that's important to me, because they feel that we're the beer they want to celebrate with or commiserate with.
Beer of the people sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. And if it's if it's the designated driver drinking our no-brainer, which is our non-alc, great, they're not missing out on the quality. And if it's girls drinking Barry Island IPA or Bayside Lager, that's fantastic. But I want it to flow through. I don't want to lose sight of the community. And when I did my level 3, you're suddenly pigeonholed into, okay, you're in sort of the top 10% of coaches in Wales, so we want you to go and coach the academies. And I was like, I understand you want me to do that, but I want to coach grassroots, because for me, if we've got more great grassroots coaches, we'll have more great grassroots players coming through to the. So that's important for me, and that's why I stayed at Whiteheads for so long. And then just as things evolved, it was great to go to Pill Harriers and hopefully take them on a journey. And we set out some standards this year with Pill. That when I went down there, I talked around why they play for Pill, what was important to them, what they want to get out of it. And the team, not me, we set out some standards, all based around heart. Because for me, Pill Harriers is the heart of the community. Everyone talks about the badge. The badge is over your heart. And you've got to have a lot of heart to play rugby. You talk, you've got to have some heart. So H is Harriers. What does that mean? Think about the people who've gone before, the stalwarts that have played, the boys who've worn the shirt, who got you to where you are now, that allow you to play in Div 2. And don't forget them, and play with them in mind. E is effort. So never be outdone. Be the best version of yourself. Put 100% effort into everything you do. So if you come training, come with 100% effort. If you make a decision on the pitch, don't do it, back you. We back you, 100% effort. Third one is attitude, right? So have that humble attitude and that empathy that you can get better, and you want to get better, and you won't be outworked on the pitch, but you've got the belief you can be the best you can.
Yeah.
R is resilience, so it's tough.
Yeah.
You're going to get injured. We're going to lose some games. We're going to have tries scored. But what resilience do you have when you're behind those posts, and you're looking around at your teammates, and you're against the pump, and there's 10 minutes to go, and you need 7 points? The resilience then is, show that heart. Right, let's go, boys. We can do this. Have that belief. And then the last one is team first. So no egos.
Nice.
And there's a famous book by James Kerr, which is Legacy, which is the story of the All Blacks and how it translates from business. Don't be a dick.
Yes.
Brilliant. And I use that in teams, in work, everything. And
Sweep
it's
the sheds.
Same. Yeah, exact. Team first. So, the boys pick the advertising boards out. They go out, they put the advertising boards out. They put the cones out. They take the balls out. They bring them in. If they get dropped, I'm dropped, I understand. Hurt, but I will now help prepare the team Thursday night in training to be the best they're going to be on a Saturday. So it's around removing all that. And you can take all those standards and apply them into business.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. So they cross over, but it comes down to just be the best version of yourself. And that's that's why I've always tried to push myself.
Yeah.
You know, I still compete at the gym. We do events, and you know, I hate losing.
Yes.
You know, I want to be the best version of myself, and if I lose, but I know I've given 100%, I'm comfortable with that.
Fair enough. Fantastic. That's been brilliant. Just one final thing to finish. So I sent you the link earlier. Is there any plans in Brains to go back to an amazing advert from a few years ago? Aliens come down to Earth, a couple of locals come up and say, we come in peace. The aliens say, we've come to drink your brains. The locals all run away. The aliens going to pint their brains. Are you going to go back to that lo-fi, funny type of marketing? Because that is one of the best adverts I've ever seen. That for me is up there with the Guinness advert where the surfers waiting for the wave.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think it's up there with that for me. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I hadn't seen it until you sent it, so I can't promise it'll be that good. But you know, with the digital world now, you know, we've got to be creative. And one thing with Brains is we'll leave no stone unturned, and we're going to give it a bloody good shot. So yeah, maybe there'll be some aliens in the future.
Fantastic. Give me a shout if you want. I'd love to make that.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you to everyone at home for watching or listening. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, you comment, you share, so we can reach as many people as possible. And Nick, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Nice one. Cheers.
Brilliant.
Thanks, mate.
Don't forget to like and share this episode and subscribe to the channel for more content.